When you hear the Book of Numbers, what do you think of? Probably a long, kind of dry list of rules and, numbers. But what if I told you it's actually an epic story? It's about a nation on the brink of greatness, and right at its heart is this gripping mystery that spans 40 years. So let's dive into this, because this story is really all about what happens between two very, very important head counts.
It all kicks off with this number, 603,550. Now, this isn't just a simple population count. Oh no, this is the military strength of the brand new nation of Israel, right after leaving Egypt, camped out at the foot of Mount Sinai. We're talking about an army poised and ready to conquer a promised land, an entire generation of fighting men all organized and waiting for the mission to begin.
And right there, that's our central mystery. Because if you fast forward 4 decades, right to the moment the next generation is standing in the same spot, ready to finish the job, something pretty shocking has happened. Of that original army, that massive force of over 600,000 men, almost none of them are left. So what on earth happened out there in the wilderness?
Well, before this nation could even think about moving, it had to get organized. This was never going to be a chaotic migration. It was planned as a disciplined, orderly march. And the very first step was a meticulous accounting of their single greatest asset, their people.
Now here's the detail you absolutely have to catch. This first census wasn't about taxes or demographics like we think of today. It was a military draft, plain and simple. The command was super specific. Count every single man 20 years old and up who was, and I quote, able to go forth to war. This was all about building a massive, formidable fighting force.
And their organization, wow, it was brilliant. The tribes weren't just a random jumble of tents. They were set up in 4 huge divisions, each with a lead tribe, and each camped on a specific side of this sacred tabernacle, which was right in the center. You had Judah's division to the east, over 186,000 strong. To the south, Reuben's division. To the west, Ephraim's. And to the north, Dan's. Every single person had a specific place. This was a nation with a serious purpose.
Okay, so the nation is counted, they're organized, they are ready to roll. Their first big objective was to send a small recon team into Canaan, the land they'd been promised. It was a mission that should have taken just 40 days, but it would end up defining the next 40 years.
The instructions couldn't have been clearer. 12 men, 1 leader from each of the 12 tribes, were to go in. Their job was pretty straightforward. Check out the land, see how strong the people are, how fortified their cities are, and, this is important, bring back some physical proof of how good the land is. A simple intelligence-gathering mission. What could go wrong?
Well, when they got back, they brought 2 completely different stories. It's wild. 10 of the spies came back with a report that was just dripping with fear. They talked about a land of giants, of impossible odds. They literally said, we were in our own sight as grasshoppers. But then you have 2 other spies, Caleb and Joshua. They saw the exact same things, but their verdict was the total opposite. They said, the land is an exceeding good land. Let us go up at once. We can definitely overcome it. So the nation had a choice. Listen to the voice of fear or the voice of faith.
And the people, they made their choice. They listened to the 10. That report of fear and doom just swept through the camp like wildfire, and the whole nation just collapsed into despair. They cried, they complained, and they openly rebelled, even talking about picking a new leader to take them back to Egypt. They completely lost faith in the mission.
That moment of decision, that choice to buy into the fear instead of the mission, well, it came with a heavy, heavy price. The consequence was severe, it was direct, and it would completely reshape the destiny of an entire generation.
And here's the connection. It's so direct. The spies spent 40 days scouting the land, and as a direct result, the nation was sentenced to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. That's 1 year for every single day of that fateful mission. They would just wander until that entire generation of rebels was gone. And the verdict was handed down. It was completely unambiguous. Every single person who was counted in that first military census, every man 20 years and older who had rebelled, would not set foot in the promised land. Their journey was officially over. They would all die in the wilderness.
So let's fast forward. 40 years go by. The wilderness has taken its toll. A new generation has grown up, and now they are the ones standing on the plains of Moab, right on the edge of the promised land. It's time to get ready all over again. It's time for a new census and a new beginning.
So Moses is told to take a second census of all the fighting men. And the number that comes back is,
Well, it's just astonishing. 601,730. It's almost the exact same number they started with 40 years before.
I mean, look at this comparison. It's incredible. After 4 decades of hardship, of wandering in a brutal desert, the nation's military strength is pretty much unchanged. The population completely replenished itself. So if the raw number of soldiers wasn't the issue, if their strength was the same, what was the real difference between the generation that failed so badly and the one that was about to succeed?
And right here, this is the answer to our whole mystery. Of those original 603,550 men who were counted at Sinai, how many were left to be counted in this second census 40 years later? Just 2.
And those 2 men? You guessed it, Caleb and Joshua, the very same spies who came back with that minority report of faith. The text tells us they survived because they had another spirit in them, and they followed the mission completely. They saw the same challenges, the same giants, the same walled cities, but they chose a different perspective. And you know what? That made all the difference.
So this whole tale of 2 censuses leaves us with a really powerful question, doesn't it? It seems to suggest that the success or failure of any great mission isn't just about the numbers or the resources or even the physical strength you have. It's about something else. It's about spirit, it's about perspective, and it's about the courage to move forward even when you're afraid. It really makes you think, what is it that makes one generation fail where another, with pretty much the same potential, succeeds?